Welcome to the Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death. This update is for the week of July 15th, 2024. I cover everything parents need to know about social media and big tech for this week. So I won't be shocking you by sharing that on Saturday, there was an assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. You know the details as they are being released, but what I want to mention today is the complete chaotic mess that social media is creating of this through the amplification of misinformation and conspiracy theories. Social media platforms over the past few days have been overrun by false claims. One saying this incident has been staged for Trump's own political benefit, or suggestions that deep fake government agents are behind it, or perhaps Joe Biden himself had somehow orchestrated the attack. The whole thing is an in-your-face example that social media is broken, and instead of prioritizing and differentiating real news and real news sources, social media prioritizes and amplifies insane stories by Mr. Know-It-All with no credentials or experience or even proof. Our kids and teens are even more susceptible to the stream of misinformation that is hitting their feeds. So, a recent study by the Center for Countering Digital Hate found that American teens, particularly those who use social media a lot, have considerably higher levels of belief in a range of conspiracy theories, including anti-Semitic and white supremacist propaganda. The CEO of CCDH, Imran Ahmed, I interviewed him a few months ago and definitely recommend listening to that. So he shared, quote, "It should not come as a surprise that this chaotic and topsy-turvy environment in which disinformation and hate are algorithmically amplified without effective guardrails has produced a generation of kids who are so susceptible to falsehoods." With the lack of support from social media companies in differentiating false information from true information, it's up to parents to teach our kids to validate sources and not believe everything that they hear online. Moving on. As always, there's a string of nefarious activity taking place on Snapchat. Parents, Snapchat is not just a kids app to send goofy photos with filters. It's the #1 app for drug dealers and predators since messages disappear and Snap deletes evidence. Nearly all of the nefarious activity taking place on Snap is not caught, evidence gone forever, but in a small amount of cases, the predator is caught. So what are the headlines for this week? I'll list them out. A man in Georgia is facing child sexual exploitation charges after illicit files were reportedly uploaded to Snapchat, sexual photos of children under 12 years old. 3 men in the Twin Cities admit to selling machine guns on Snapchat and have been sentenced to a grand total of 11 years in federal prison for operating a Snapchat-based machine gun distribution ring. They also use Snapchat to traffic firearms and controlled substances. A man in Texas has been arrested for communicating with a 14-year-old sexual assault victim on Snapchat. A teacher is facing multiple felonies for pretending to be a young male model on Snapchat and capturing sexualized photos of girls as young as 8. Those are just the headlines from the past week. I could go on, but I'll stop there. If your child is on Snapchat, please be careful. Let them know that they could be contacted by a stranger and by a predator, and you need to lock down their account as well as you can. Next up, so Meta's stock has been dropping continually. The drop was at nearly 6% as of Thursday. Investors have been rotating out of big tech stocks and putting their money into other sectors. And it didn't help Meta that former President Donald Trump expressed support for social media platform TikTok, as I will tell you more about in a moment. Trump even went as far as to threaten jail time for Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg if he is elected in November. Trump stated in Bloomberg, quote, "I don't want them, Meta, destroying our youth. You see what they're doing, including even suicides." Trump is not wrong here, but the statement about encouraging suicides also applies to TikTok. I'll be sitting on a panel this coming week talking about the connection between TikTok use and teen suicide. I'll give you more updates on that at the end of next week. But speaking of TikTok, the lawsuit by TikTok against our U.S. government continues. They are suing us for passing a law requiring TikTok to be sold to an American company, or we will remove it from our app stores. Our U.S. federal intelligence agencies found extreme concern over the fact that TikTok is owned by a Chinese company, and Chinese companies are required to turn over data to the Chinese Communist Party when it's requested. There is the potential for the CCP to influence operations at TikTok, therefore influencing 170 million American TikTok users. So this week, Donald Trump joined the conversation by stating during the Republican National Convention that, "I'm here for TikTok." Here is his quote. "I'm here for TikTok because you need competition. If you don't have TikTok, you have Facebook and Instagram." A couple of important notes here. In September of 2020, then President Trump actually tried to ban TikTok himself for the same reasons we have concern for now. He tried but failed. So what's the difference? One of the major contributors to Trump's presidential campaign is billionaire Jeff Yass. Jeff Yass owns 15% of ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok. You can learn more about this in a recent Forbes article titled "Billionaire Jeff Yass May Be the Donor Behind Trump's TikTok Flip-Flop." So if TikTok fails to overturn the law, there are American bids being developed to buy TikTok. One of them is backed by American billionaire and entrepreneur Frank McCourt. I recently interviewed Frank here on the podcast to learn about his bid for TikTok and what his plan is to make the platform safer and less addictive to children. Highly recommend listening to or watching that episode. And I will continue to cover the TikTok legislation and lawsuit here on Scrolling to Death. Stay tuned. That is all I have for you this week on the Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death. Please stay tuned for updates next week. And as always, thank you so much for being part of this conversation, prioritizing children's safety over big tech profits. Have a good weekend.